Hello world citizens. On December 15, Twitter issued a statement outlining its approach to, what it asserted to be, misleading COVID-19 vaccine information. In its first paragraph a reference was made to, what was described as, the latest authoritative public health information. This giveaway on the credulity of Twitter, towards the official narrative issued by drugs manufacturers and health bodies, failed to grasp a simple yet important fact. It is a matter of record that public authorities, be they governments, international institutions, health providers, and significantly, vaccine producers, have on numerous occasions been less than truthful. Some would say that deception and manipulation are core components of such entities. Twitter's executives are no doubt acutely aware of the bias, falsehoods and disinformation which forms the lingua franca of the political and corporate world. So it's disappointing they demonstrate such trust in the integrity, reliability and veracity of those having both vested and invested interests in the manufacture of vaccines. That such corporations should be held up as some sort of unimpeachable source of fact and public service asks serious questions of Twitter. Why so? Well, surely Jack and his team realize that the likes of Pfizer and AstraZeneca are not charitable, volunteer-based organizations, but profit-seeking businesses. This means their operations are constantly driven by financial considerations, which has had damaging consequences in terms of ethics and safety. New measures being implemented by Twitter, December 21, 2020, with their totalitarian definition of what defines a COVID-related tweet as being misleading or demonstrably false, would likely censor any such comment. Viewers are asked to check the link below to see just how far Twitter has gone to prevent, even reasonable and factual dissent or discussion on the subject of COVID-19 vaccines. The breadth of restrictions it's engineered are designed to suffocate any criticism or opinion which dares to challenge the pandemic narrative peddled by governments, pharmaceutical corporations and health bodies. There is no longer room for dissent, or any opposing view. Yet such matters deserve to be openly debated. Different perspectives and the protection of an uncensored discourse are defining features of liberal democracy. It is disturbing to note that Twitter has, in the context of COVID-19, abandoned the principles of free speech and chosen the path of censorship. In addition, applying prejudice and discrimination. After all, it plans in 2021 to taint any tweet, not in conformity with its dictates, with a warning label. Meanwhile, we can expect to see those accounts not complying with these new regulations, locked down or removed. It's interesting how Twitter will be able to justify its new role as arbiter of what constitutes a violation of these thought control restrictions. For example, if someone tweets a concern on the known and worrying record of Pfizer, and cites instances where that corporation has itself misled and deceived on the safety or efficacy of its products, is that a transgression? Is this genuinely a concern of Twitter's executives to ensure factual and balanced information on the topic of COVID vaccines? Or a ruthless erasure of any discussion, apart from the narrative of government and drugs companies? Will it be a Twitter algorithm that seeks out keywords to label and or censor a tweet as breaching these new dictates? If so, then your free speech is being denied by a line of code. Or will employees be combing through tweets deciding what constitutes a COVID-linked violation? How do they rule on a tweet that is stating a known fact that Pfizer had issued biased and distorted lab trial reports on a vaccine? Do they lock an account for tweeting that an antidepressant was deemed to be both ineffective and dangerous? Is truth and public discussion of less value to Twitter than claimed concerns on public health and the sensitivities of vaccine producers? What about the following facts? Will Twitter respect and permit free and unrestricted comments that a person has the right not to be vaccinated? Or that drugs manufacturers have a worrying record on the safety and reliability of their products? That people have indeed had their health damaged following vaccinations? That COVID-19 vaccines are indeed experimental, in the sense of never being applied to entire populations? That vaccine makers, health bodies and governments have in the past assured people of no risk with vaccinations, yet families suffered neurological damage, as happened with the Tamiflu treatment. Or will such matters of record be denied too? If so, then the democratic and free speech principles which Twitter was built upon are in shreds. What a grave new world the executives of Twitter have embraced, where only the assurances of multinational corporations and the words of government are regarded as truthful and accurate. Jack Dorsey, if you allow this censorship to discriminate against freedom of expression, to silence those who possess the right to hold a different perspective and publicly express such a view, then you are forever changing and degrading Twitter. No longer can you claim it to be a platform for open debate. No more a refuge for those whose voices are repressed and denied by an authoritarian regime or corrupt business. You will have sided with those who seek to strangle the honorable tradition of dissent. In becoming an uncritical advocate of every word issued by drugs manufacturers and the politicized narratives of governments, you lose moral integrity and credibility. Think on this, Jack. In sterilizing from Twitter any alternative or opposing voice on the efficacy or safety of COVID vaccines, you're denying a community easy access to information, which could prevent a son, wife, brother or other family member agreeing a vaccination with a potential to inflict harm. That's the point, isn't it? These products are an unknown. We have only the say-so of the manufacturers. Plus it's a treatment of uncertain qualities. Will it provide long-lasting immunity? Will it prevent transmissions? Does it pose as yet unidentified health risks in the general population? How effective is it when the pathogen mutates? Such questions are not in themselves anti-vaccination, indeed they've been raised within the medical science community. But Twitter's overly aggressive and censorial policies would regard such justified and reasonable points as unacceptable and qualifying for censorship. In following a road Twitter executives choose to see as well-meaning, they trample over civil and human rights. Is this a platform worthy of its wondrous community of concerned and intelligent global citizens? We are anonymous. We are legion. Expect us.